Sirens washed my porch in blue. A deputy asked if I was the trespasser, and I held up my grandfather's deed, while a brand new sign on my own fence read, Silver Pine Commons, HOA, Private Drive. That is how my quiet life turned into a circus in 3 breaths. And if you have ever had someone try to rename your home with a plaque and a clipboard, you know that feeling that crawls up your spine. My name is Cole Barrett. I grew up under the old windmill on Barrett land outside Sagebrush Ridge, Nevada. 210 acres, and a stubborn creek that goes dry and then comes back like a promise. I left for a decade of meetings where men in shiny shoes called dirt, a parcel and community a product. Then my father died, and the road curved me home. I patched roofs, dug the ditch, set irrigation timers, let the kind of quiet that smells like wet clay and hay. Fix my head, you know what I mean. I was gone. 12 days helped my sister sort our mom's storage in New Mexico. Set the timers fed. The dog locked the door. And when I rolled back at dawn, the air hugged wrong. Not sage and dust, but road. Tar sharp and new. I crested the cottonwoods, and there it was, a blacktop ribbon slicing my field like a bad scar. 5 pale stucco houses where alfalfa should have been. Not near the boundary, but in it, a keypad gate blinking red. A camera tracking me like I was the coyote, and the coyote had a mortgage. The gate hissed open, and a man in a blazer with a Silver Pine badge walked like he practiced it. Residents only, he said, handing me a letter that gave me 72 hours to vacate the Eastern District, signed by the HOA president Lydia Caro. Her cursive looked like it admired itself. And I told him, there is no Eastern District and there is my ranch. And there is not. But the gate closed with a hush, like a mouth that had decided the conversation was over. When I'm angry, I don't throw things. I make copies, so I pulled the deed tax receipts, the 1971 survey with my granddad's pencil lines. The water board letter with my name on it. I strapped a trail cam to the windmill, mounted a GoPro above the ditch. Followed the line, and found a clean saw. Cut through my PVC main. The water rerouted by a green vinyl snake into fresh sod across the new road. Little logo flags staked like confetti after a robbery. And while I'm staring, a black Suburban glides up 2 security guys in matching polos. Fan out, and Lydia herself steps out in a cream suit with sunglasses. At dusk, she doesn't pet the dog or say hello. For the safety of our residents, she starts, remove your personal property from the Eastern District within 2 hours, and I tell her she is standing in my hayfield. She tilts her head like I've mispronounced oxygen and warns me not to escalate, and I look at the cut pipe thinking, lady, you already did. By noon, I'm looking at a glossy website for Silver Pine Commons wine glasses over Sunset. A yoga deck that looks exactly like my creek bend. If you erase the mosquitoes in the memory, own a piece of the valley, yeah, that happened. So I called the county, then I called someone who speaks dirt in court. Maya Chen boots and blazer pencil in her hair like a tool. We spread maps on my porch, and she finds it fast. A fake Nevada LLC filed a transfer on a sliver of my parcel ID. Used it to spawn 5 phantom lots. Stapled an HOA Community Expansion Certificate to a developer's packet. Slid it through a glitch in the county's ancient software that should have been scrubbed in 1991. In English, someone dressed up theft as paperwork and tried to outrun the truth. We filed for an emergency restraining order, but proof moves faster when people can see it. So before sunrise, I launched my old drone. From the ridge flew low over the black road and the 5 shells. the neat little wound where my ditch used to breathe a white party tent, staked into my field with a chalkboard reading, "Investors welcome at 5 Wine Wellness Community." I cut the footage with the deed in frame and a plain line. "What you're looking at is my land," then I sent it everywhere. That still opens emails by mid-afternoon, code enforcement, and a deputy stood at the gate with a signed order tent. Ropes dropped, speakers. Unplugged the party that never belonged, died before the first pour. And Lydia arrived for the cameras with a hat wide enough to shade a picnic table. She smiled and said, "Shared land usage." I printed those 3 words and taped them to my tractor so I could laugh without breaking anything. That night, a thick motion to vacate the order landed in my mailbox, accusing me of abandoning agriculture, calling my acreage developmental limbo, claiming my presence emotionally destabilized buyers. Emotionally destabilizing. I nearly choked, so I stacked proof taller than their folder satellite shots from 10 years, showing stubble and furrow, ag tax bills, waterboard, letters, crop logs in my handwriting, a picture of me, waist deep in the ditch after a storm. Maya filed at 8 and at 9. A project manager from Oakline Homes showed up with boots. "Too clean," he told me. They were told it was rezoned and transferred fees. Paid inspections passed. If there's been a misunderstanding. And I said, "It isn't a misunderstanding, it is fraud with landscaping." He asked to keep the copies. And the next morning, a clipboard reading "Site Audit" was taped to the gate like a confession with Scotch tape. That afternoon, a couple toured one of the houses with a realtor who talked with her hands like she could sell weather. I met the husband at the fence and told him straight, "If you buy stolen property, it is still stolen, even if you pay full price." He took off his sunglasses and looked at the dirt and said, "Thank you." And the open house signs vanished like a nervous thought. I hired 2 off-duty deputies I knew from high school to sit near the gate at night, not to escalate to document plates. And people, meanwhile, Maya recorded a list pendants on every new address, so you could not flick a light switch in those shells without tripping over notice. Then came the twist. A public records request returned a string of emails between the HOA and the developer one from Lydia a week before the blacktop cut my field. If we push fast, we get grandfathered in no time for neighbors to mobilize there. It was in black letters. Not a rumor, not a smear, a quiet blueprint for stealing daylight. I pinned that printout beside my grandfather's photo and circled the court date with a grease pencil. The Dry Creek County courtroom leans a little the way old rooms do. Clock 2 minutes slow. Sound system that pops. I wore my one good shirt and boots. I hosed in the yard. Maya looked like the person you hand the hardest truth. Lydia sat with 2 lawyers and a clipboard man, calm as a bank lobby until the judge walked in with a file thick enough to stop a door. Maya went simple and surgical. The deed chain from Granddad to me. The drone video of the cut. Ditch and the Black Road. The Nevada Mailbox Company. And a notary who had been dead 5 years. The county's legacy flag from a highway plan that never happened. And finally, that email about pushing fast to get grandfathered in. "This isn't zoning, oops," she said. "This is identity." Theft of land. Lydia's attorney tried good faith and miscommunication property values and community standards. Said shared land usage, like it was a spell. The judge rubbed her temple, set the file down and spoke in a voice that lands, permits, revoked. Structures declared illegal encroachments. Immediate stop order. County audit opened. Referral to the district attorney for fraud and forgery. And then the line that mattered in that room. Ms. Caro stepped down as president of Silver Pine Commons, effective immediately pending inquiry. No cheering, no soundtrack, just a bailiff who suddenly had something to do, and a PR man who forgot how to hold his clipboard. Lydia took off her sunglasses because there was nowhere left to hide. If you want to know what victory feels like, it is not fireworks, it is weight. Sliding off one shoulder while the other remembers. There is still work, oak line taped off the sights like bandages on a wound. The road sat there like a bad idea. Sunbathing my ditch needed rebuilding. The field needed seed. The creek bank needed fixing, where tires chewed it. Folks from town drove slow to read the county notice like it was a menu that night. On the porch, I thought about the word community. How it can mean casseroles when life falls apart, or a broom that sweeps away. Whoever stood here first, I thought about that couple and the way the husband said thank you. And I wondered what he told his wife on the drive back to the highway. Probably that they almost bought a lawsuit with a view. The deputy who had asked if I was the trespasser stood by the door when the aisle cleared Cole. "You good?" he said. And I set the deed on the rail and let the stamp speak. Turns out the only person who didn't belong here was her. Cut it right there, if you like. Clean as slicing baling twine, or keep going. And tell me where you stand on the mess left behind. Do those 5 houses come down to the dirt? Get turned into homes for people? Brochures never picture. Sit fenced off as a warning that lines on paper only matter when we make them matter. Drop your take in the comments. Tell me what you've seen, where you live. If a rules committee ever knocked at 6 a.m. with a smile and a fine, what they said and what you did next, and if you have a Lydia in your town, I want that story right, wrong, or stuck in the mud where most of us live.